Booktube, we are back. Let's interview Pierce Brown. Before we get into the interview, this is the ninth interview that we've done since we started this, and it's been an incredible journey. And Pierce Brown joined us on TikTok Live. He just made a TikTok like a couple weeks ago and joined us on a TikTok Live interview, and that was such a moment. Pierce Brown, thank you for that, for blessing our lives last night. Whenever you're seeing this, this was like on September 4th. But I know you're all going to enjoy it. We talked everything from his early starting writing career to Red Rising itself and to much, much more. I want to thank Pierce Brown. I want to thank Octavia. This has been an incredible year, incredible journey, and I hope you all enjoy this. And we're going to keep this going. Happy reading.
Pierce Brown, what
Hey, what's up, man?
up?
I am just so delighted that I was able to follow the instructions, find what live was, get on. I was so worried I'd be like proven that I'm like an ancient millennial and wouldn't know how to do this stuff.
Dude, 3 minutes early. And just for everyone here, it's going to be like a 50-minute ish interview. And Pierce is coming on here to kind of bless us from that perspective there. So before we get into it, Pierce, I'm going to do some housekeeping stuff. So
Sure.
we're going to try our best. Me and you, we're going to try our best to stay away from spoilers, right? I can't control the comments. I can't do that. But me and you, we're going to try to stay away from spoilers. And we're going to talk a lot of different
Oh
things here.
man.
And then there are some things that you have special announcements coming out about that I'm not going to spoil that thunder. You know, we're going to let those special announcements come out about. But obviously, naturally, as we have this conversation, we'll go from there. So, Pierce Brown, you all know Pierce Brown, but let me give you a quick bio on him. Actually, Pierce, let's wait for 2 minutes because I said
Sure,
five. Let's
man.
wait for 2 minutes. Wait
Sure.
for two
Sure. I
minutes.
can just get to know about you. Where are you from?
I am from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm in New York right now because I have an Apple TV event right now.
Uh-huh.
Like literally like right after this. So that's why I'm normally at my like desk, but I'm here right now.
You're not a Ravens fan, are you?
I'm a Colts fan actually, which is
Your parents raised you right, it seems like.
yeah, man. Yeah. So I'm in New York right now for this Apple TV event later on today. But I'm so happy to have you on here. And I just want to give people 1 more minute because I did say five. I don't want to start without them. And they're like, what? I thought this was starting at five. So
We can talk about anything. Are you watching anything good on TV right now?
smoke on Apple TV.
Smoke?
Yeah.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know what that is. What is that?
It's like a kind of biography, but not really biography of like this serial arsonist. You know Dennis Lehane, right? He wrote Shutter Island.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yep. He screen wrote that. It's absolutely incredible.
Oh, cool. That guy's a talent. I'll have to check that
Yeah,
out.
for sure.
Smoke.
And before we go in, what are you reading right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, Tacitus.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't really read too many modern books when I'm like really, really in the depths of writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I find that the well gets pretty dry if I
Yeah.
don't refresh the things that made me start writing Red Rising. So
Love that. Love that. Love that. All right. It is 5 o'clock Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're not here, you're late. Pierce Brown, let's go over his bio. Pierce Brown is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of the insanely fire series Red Rising, a dystopian sci-fi epic that's captivated millions of readers worldwide. I mean, worldwide. There's people from Peru, there's people from Australia hitting me up because Australia, I don't think they'll be able to see it right now. After 100 rejections, I want to repeat that, over 100 rejections, he broke through with Red Rising in 2014, launching a series now with 6 books strong, with Lightbringer as its latest. A series that will have you fist bumping one page and shedding some thug tears the next page. Chris Brown, welcome to, first off, TikTok, and welcome to TikTok Live.
thank you, Smitty. I honestly think you have to introduce me everywhere. Have you ever seen the movie The Knight's Tale?
Yes, I have,
Have you
actually.
seen it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
yeah. I think it's Chaucer who goes
yeah,
out. Like you're such the perfect hype man.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
I like me too now. That's great.
Yeah, and then before we go into the questions, what I love to do, and we've done, what is it, 8 interviews now, chat. What I like to do is just give, authors their kudos and their flowers here. And what I want to do is just, I think I speak for everyone here, like many of us, when I say that, thank you, man. You're giving us stories that are both brutal and brilliant and full of heart. And you're giving us characters who we'll never forget, moments we'll never forget, and a bonding experience with like our fellow readers that we'll never forget too as well, that will last a lifetime. So thank you for that. Everyone in the chat say thank you to Pierce Brown for giving us some amazing stories.
No, thank you guys because the insane thing is that I'm still getting to write these books.
Yeah.
And I had no idea being able to do this long. And it's just the new readers that come on and the old readers who created this great foundation for new people to find the books and have this inclusive community. So super happy to be part of your community. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's hop in right into that and piggybacking off of that. So Red Rising has been wildly successful for many years. Like I've seen people get tattoos of Lycos. I've seen, Hail Reaper. I've seen the different fan arts, which again, I'm sure you've seen them. They're absolutely insane. Were you surprised by the incredible reception and the longevity of this series?
And buying a paperback 12 years on, I think at the start I would have asked what crystal ball you had or what drugs you were on and where could I get either one, because it's really hard, and even my publisher is somewhat flummoxed by the concept that people are still finding these books and it's still you know uh hot, so to speak.
Yeah,
I think we credit the way that book talk has helped books make a resurgence, especially living. Our brains are like made into to hamsters on a wheel by the tech companies who hire the smartest people alive to trick our brains and get us to have short attention spans. So the fact that people are still finding books and still finding my books, it's like the ultimate treat, right?
yeah,
Because it's a long journey to get there. It felt like a long journey to get to be a writer, but also you certainly don't take it for granted because there's years that are up and down. Your books aren't always as popular. My books weren't always as popular as they are now. And so, quite surprised to see how the books have found their way into people's lives. I didn't know books. Well, I mean, I had that with Lord of the Rings. Sure, I had that with some books. I certainly loved Harry Potter when I was a kid. But when you start meeting characters, readers whose babies are named Darrow,
yeah,
uh, and Severo, and some other things. But then when you start seeing those kids when they're eight, like an
yeah.
8-year-old Darrow,
Oh,
that's what's really wild to me, because it's like, God damn, like then I started doing the math.
yeah.
Then I started doing the math, and I'm like, wait, I've only put out two books in the time you've been alive. You're almost in the middle school. So it does also make me feel like, hurry up, Brown, hurry up.
Yeah, yeah, dude, that is
Yeah.
so sick. Yeah, I can only imagine like just yeah, 8-year-old with the name Darrow is absolutely insane. I'm sure if we look at like baby names in the next like or for this decade, I'm sure Darrow, Severo, maybe even Mustang will pop up on there.
Let's hope so, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I just hope never to provide anyone that how would I say that feeling of when they name their kid Daenerys.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe sometimes it's best to wait till the end of the story. But
Yeah.
after meeting these kids, I know I owe them a little bit of protection.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
no, yeah.
For sure, for sure. So, but let's kind of backtrack to that journey because you just said like you didn't even know he's gonna be a writer, like how that kind of worked there. So,
Mm.
I love hearing how like creative journeys begin. So, what was like the experience that made you realize like, hey, I'm Pierce Brown and I want to be a writer? And was sci-fi always like the genre you wanted to like get into?
Well, I guess it's like the same question probably goes for you. How did you know you wanted to be a book talker, if
Yeah,
that's what you call yourself, but
yeah,
an influencer in this world. And it probably started with you being an innocent, sweet fan of books, right? And I was an innocent, sweet fan of books, and I got sinister along the way. But I lived in 8 states growing up, so I was always the new kid, and I couldn't take friends with me, and books were my refuge. And my parents were, thank goodness, they really pushed a foundation reading on me, and they gave me this set of books called the Great Classics Abridged, which had a lot, I don't know, like 60, 70 of the great classics, but written for kids. And so I had access to things and ideas and themes, and I had a foundation and even a template for I guess this 3,000-year-old, heritage of stories. And so I had these ideas all going around in my head when I was a kid, but my dad also made me go outside with a shovel. And so I'm digging outside with a shovel, and this is
those
pre
dads.
Walkman. So yeah, so and I was on one Revolutionary War battlefield, so I was always looking for musket balls and stuff. And when I'm digging, I'm just kind of using those muscles in my brain to further the stories along, because we didn't have audiobooks in the same way we do now and stuff. So I was just me, the shovel, and the stories that were already put in my head by these great books. And so the muscle started developing before I knew it was possible. Yeah, because I thought authors were these rarefied hermetic
Mm.
figures who lived up, on hills and like chopped, I don't know, and drank coffee and whiskey at like, 8 in the morning. And yeah, I like knew
Wait, wait,
who
they
two
don't? They
authors
don't?
were. Well, not when we're happy. I will say I have done that, but it's not a sustainable model. No, no. But I think that it was just a foreign concept that I could be that because I don't think that creativity was really my, how would I say, it didn't define my personality until I accidentally became an author. And I became an author when I had been reading a lot of books, and then just found myself impatient in a new city before college, and I started writing my own. And I wrote my first book. Oof, this 900 and something page epic fantasy called Requiem for Light.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and it had its own history and everything, and maps and all this stuff. Because I started making maps, so I drew maps in journals, and so because I was always taken in by Tolkien, and the how his images were so evocative, and you'd look at like a lake in Mordor, and you'd be like, "What's in that lake?"
Mm.
And so I made maps beforehand, and then I guess I just put a story to go around my first map, and then I had a book.
Oof. Oof. That's incredible. Then sci-fi itself, like what interests you and like kind of get into that?
Well, sci-fi. I was again just a fan, man. I
Yeah.
thought I'd be a fantasy writer, but the agents all disagreed when they rejected all my fantasy books. But like, I don't want to jump ahead for the questions or
Yeah.
anything. But Red Rising ended up being my seventh book, and so
Ooh.
it was the seventh book I'd written, and the first one I was able to get representation with. But science fiction, I've always been a fan of. Ender's Game was a seminal book when I was younger. Then I found Arthur C. Clarke, Larry Niven, Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein, Ursula Le Guin, and they started just creating this. I guess this again, to use the word foundation
Yeah.
of competent or literacy within it. And
Mm.
then I went farther afield and found things like A Canticle for Leibovitz, and then modern classics from Anne Leckie and things like that. But sci-fi to me was interesting because um, fantasy can be a lot of things, but I think science
Yeah.
fiction is usually when there's one or two things with the story that fundamentally change the human condition. And those
Yeah.
usually are around technology. And I think
Yeah.
science fiction is a very expansive term. Some would
Yeah.
argue that it's only hard sci-fi but at the same time, some of the best adventure stories ever. The 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and those H.G. Wells books, which were some of the first sci-fi, were fantasy novels. They were adventure
Mm.
novels. But then sci-fi got labeled in the 1950s and 60s as, defined by former NASA scientists doing stuff in their free time. And I love those books too. But sci-fi is a very expansive field.
Yeah.
And I think I've always liked the overlap between mythic, the like mythic science fiction and fantasy, and in the Dunes, and somewhat in my book, although it's more immediate than say Dune. With Dune has this 4,000 year history behind it.
Yeah.
But anyway, science fiction always appealed to me because it's humanity's future. But I think that the good stories always show us something that is always been true or has
Mm.
always been true about us, and I think science fiction has a great ability to do that.
Yeah. No. Awesome. Like a lot of things there. So first off, I agree with chat. We can look forward to a fantasy from you, man. Like you can drop that 900 page on us at any time when it comes to that. Like we would read anything from that perspective. But the second thing is that I mean that's why I do these interviews with authors because
Mhm.
like I think people think authors are mythical, right? Like obviously we had
Mhm.
Brandon on here, we had the different authors on here, and it's like just to be able to have people kind of like
Well, some
interact with
some
you.
are, to be fair. Some
Yeah,
are, to be fair.
yeah, yeah.
When you talk to Brandon, he's with his third hand, he's already writing the next
Oh,
book.
yeah,
So
facts.
he is a bit of a mythical creature. He is a
Yeah,
special one. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. No, that's awesome. So we do have a lot of writers on this call, right? And they're
Oh, cool.
definitely going to be, interested in writing every single thing that you have here. So Red Rising has 6 books out right now, with a seventh on its
Mhm.
way. Any advice for like new writers out there who have dreams of writing multiple book series?
Got a couple.
Let's go.
First one is a fact that I learned several years ago in psychology book, that a person is much less likely to run a marathon if they tell people they're going to run a marathon, because we get the validation. And once you get validation and catharsis, that meal feels nom nom nom, and then your
Yeah,
dopamine gets a little bit decreased. So you're not
yeah,
going to push quite as hard if you keep it a secret. I think it's a very good thing.
Hmm.
I've had to learn to keep things a secret myself
Yeah.
with regard to next projects I want to work on, because if someone hears about it and says, "Oh, that's amazing," I'm like, yum, yum, yum. Then I'm not going to probably have the same fire in my belly to write it. So I
Yeah.
think that keeping things somewhat secretive to a certain extent is helpful. Then it's your secret project, and you get to be like an evil genius, changing the world in your in your garage or
Yeah.
something, or wherever your
Yeah.
writing room is. The other one would be to I think that every writer, and I think you see this oftentimes in first books. First books often resemble the art, the writers, the book that made the writer become a writer. A lot
Mm.
of times we start with mimicry, and people's books get more unique as they go on. So I think that often we're trying to emulate the people that really inspired us to that next level and gave us the epiphany of I want to do this too. But I think that what really, and this is how my first books I think failed, is because I was trying to I thought that this was quality writing, so I was trying to emulate this, when
Mm.
instead I realized the secret to successful, or the secret to writing um, the book that became Red Rising, was writing the book that I wish existed. And Red Rising is
Mm.
a Frankenstein's monster of all the things I love, but it's a book I always wish existed. And because of that, I wasn't trying to write a book that I thought people wanted. I
Yeah.
tried doing that before. And the thing is, I don't think many of us, certainly not me, are smart enough to predict what people want. And if you do, you're already going to be
Yeah.
behind the curve of
Yeah.
progress, so to
Yeah.
speak. And so you see this a lot in publishing. Like vampire books get popular, then now every book's a vampire book, right? It's about 2 years delayed and stuff, right? But it's really, if you think of, like Stephanie Meyer writing that, she's sitting in Arizona where it's hot.
Yeah.
It's hot. I've lived in Arizona, and there's no rain.
Yeah.
And she wanted that gothic romance, and she wanted to take herself somewhere else, and she wrote the book she wanted, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's the key, because there's always going to be a better writer. There's always going to be someone with a better idea. The only thing you can really do better than anyone else is be you.
Yeah. Oof.
And I think that that is the only way you can bring your X factor, because I'm not going to bring whatever weird magic works in Red Rising if I'm trying to predict what people like. Then it's
Hmm.
going to be conditional.
Yeah.
Then it's going to be ephemeral. Then it's also going to be creating this massive insecurity in me, because when things get bad, basically, I lock myself down. I'm like, all right, what do I want to write about?
Yeah.
As opposed to, when you have 6 books and you have hundreds of characters and you have a lot of people reading your books, people want different things than I necessarily want to give them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And once I start confusing those two things, it can get a little difficult. So I'd say write the book that you wish existed already.
Writers in here, write the book that you wish existed already. Like, if you take anything from this, like, don't write what he's writing, don't write what Brandon's writing, don't write what Rachel Gillick's writing. Write the book that you wish existed. Love that so much. All right, now let's go. A lot of success right now. You have a lot of success right now, but let's go back to that era where, like,
I want
many
more,
beloved,
Smitty. I want
yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah, right. I feel you. Like many beloved books, Red Rising was rejected not once, not twice,
Yeah.
not three times, hundreds of times by hundreds of literary agents.
Mhm.
Again, maybe I'm asking you to be a little bit vulnerable here, but can you walk us through that journey and what it was like to push through that?
Well, I would say that if you get defeated, you have two options. And if you get told no with regard to like your book rejected, you have two options. You can believe them, or you can get pissed off. And I got pissed off. And being pissed off worked for me. And I think that, anger can be a great fuel. That said, it's not sustainable. So you do have to find
Yeah.
other mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
It is not sustainable,
Yeah.
but it's great. It's great feeling as though they're wrong and you're going to prove that they're wrong, as opposed to, oh, maybe they're right. And so whenever I would write a book and I'd send it out to agents that I'd sniffed out based on other authors that they'd represented. And then this was back when you had to do everything via most things via mailing. But
Mm.
I found out how they took submissions, and then I submitted about like 25 at a time. And when those 25 all came back, I didn't keep working on that book. That's cool.
I don't know. You see that, right?
Yeah, wow, man. I wish that popped up every time I said something like wise, whoop, or
Somebody give that to
fierce.
Pierce.
Yeah. Well, that's how it happened to give it to you.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I heard they were messing with someone doing their face and they freaked out.
Oh,
Anyway,
geez.
once I got rejected in one book, I started moving on to the next book, and tried to, instead of looking at the critiques I got from the agents, as you know, to go back and fix that book, I tried to pour it into something new, something because something that it isn't written yet is perfect. The
Mm,
second you start writing, it becomes imperfect because the medium is the problem. Ideas are beautiful. Ideas are so fun. So every time I would just use that momentum of a new idea, hopefully starting from a better position now that I had some feedback. And it was on the seventh time I did that. The last book I was writing because I was running out of time because I was having to take on real like jobs where I couldn't do both, and it was
hmm.
exhausting. And I
Yeah.
was getting beaten down. I wish I said like I still had pluck in me, but
Yeah.
I wrote Red Rising, got rejected by I think at that time 22 agents, and I quit. I quit writing because I was exhausted. So then I was an NBC page giving tours on the NBC lot, like seating people on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. That was my job.
Hmm.
Peacock tie, gray suit, very Kenneth the Page. And then about a couple months into that job, found out that there was an agent who was the assistant on a desk of an agent who'd rejected me 6 times. And that assistant was starting her own list and becoming an agent and asked me to be her first client. I said, no, I was like, well, I have to assess my options. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. And then actually, we took Red Rising out, and I received an offer for one book from a publisher, and that publisher wanted me to start at the institute.
Mm.
I'll just leave that cryptic for those of you who've not
Yep.
read it. So at the
Yep.
institute, which is missing the first third of the book and then doing things through flashbacks.
Yeah.
And I had never had an offer from a publisher before. I had no other offers on the table, but I knew in my gut that it was wrong, so I said no, thank you. And
Yeah.
then 2 weeks later, I got a 3 book offer from Random House, and they didn't want to change a thing. So I
Oof.
feel that those two decisions, going with that agent and then saying no to that publisher, um, you sometimes look back and you're like, I mean, how did I have any fortitude to do that? But those
Dude.
are two of the very lucky decisions that I made.
I know I'm not the only one here that just had goosebumps, like with that story, because imagine if you stopped. Like, we would not, look at that, you got one. We would not be here right now.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine if you stopped. And I know
Yeah.
people like, again, I'm one of the most delusional people ever. Like, keep on going, like, keep going. You just never know. And like, we
You
literally
never
would
know.
not be here like without you and persevering like that. So again, for any authors out there, the first part of these programs, I always try to give it to y'all because I know we have a lot of authors, a lot of aspiring authors, to hear from the people themselves. With that said, let's move into Red Rising.
Yeah,
So
one more thing on that. I'd say that
go ahead.
if
Yeah.
you really think, yeah, if you really think about it from an economic perspective, it's very important to diversify your risk. They talked to that about protecting money, which is basically time sacrificed, right? So it's
Mm,
one of the most valuable things you can acquire because you sacrifice time to get money to have safety or a future, right?
yeah.
And they talked about diversifying that risk. I think it's the same thing if you're a new writer. Don't pour all your young blood, sweat, and
Mm,
tears and momentum into one book.
yeah.
Come back to that book if you feel like it later, but keep going, keep finding new ones, right?
Yeah.
And each time I wrote a new book inside my head, I was just shouting Kobe as I was fading back.
Mama mentality.
Just got to take them shots. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mama mentality, man. And I was gonna say that, like, you really are embodying mama mentality. I'm a big Kobe fan. So like what you're
yeah,
saying, you're just like, let's go. Let's go.
yeah.
Um, yeah, RIP Kobe. Everyone, now we're moving into the Red Rising part of the program here. I myself and Pierce, we're gonna stay away from spoilers. I can't control the chat, but please just try to stay away from spoilers here. When you first wrote Red Rising, did you already know the broad arc of the first trilogy, or did like Darrow's story evolve like as you went along?
Well, I didn't even have Darrow when I started writing. The first thing I wrote,
Ooh.
I found a phrase in this 19th or maybe, yeah, 19th century botany book I bought at a flea market, and it had a flower in there called Haemanthus, and that
Mm,
flower in Latin means blood blossoms. So I wrote down because I just love the tonality of that. Like tone is how I find a new project. I love the tone of that, and I wrote down there is a um, flower that grows on Mars that is red and harsh and fit for our soil. It is called the Hemathus. It means blood blossom. And I have that in a journal that was the first thing I wrote for Red Rising, and it always stuck. And so I got that tone there, and then I discovered Darrow along the way.
Mm,
But I'll say, as soon as I discovered Darrow, and I discovered the grand arc of the books, what I wanted to show was the archetypal Bildungsroman. I love Greek plays. I love the three act structure. I wanted to see a classic trilogy, but then I wanted that classic trilogy, and this probably happened about midway through the second book. I started feeling like that it was more than three. But
mm,
then by the midway through writing the third book, I knew that um, it was going to be a six-book series, because I love, David's story in the Bible. I love some of these classic Greek characters whose fatal flaw unwinds an otherwise heroic life.
hmm.
And no spoilers, but these are
Yeah.
the classic structures which I really enjoy, and so the grand scope of it started coming more into my mind. Now the details, no way, no
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
no way. No, I'm not like that. I need to be in the moment with my character, because
Okay.
if I'm there with an outline, and I know some friends who write 200-page outlines and have it to the minute detail. And to be honest, they have a much more disciplined writing style than I do. For me, that doesn't feel natural. I'll get, 100 pages into the writing and I'll already be abandoning the outline.
Mm, mm. So you don't stick to out. I know I've talked to a couple authors who love their outlines. So you're the one that
Mm-hmm.
does not stick to your outlines.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And that used to be easier with just one character. With
Yeah.
five or four characters,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm this far in. Maybe for the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Um,
did a 12-page outline for the last two books, and then ended up abandoning them because they felt insincere along
you
the
did it for
way.
Lightbringer?
Hmm. Well,
Oh.
I threw out over 400 pages of Lightbringer. I restarted the book. Yeah, I was writing it and I didn't like it. Didn't work. I felt insecure and unmoored, and as though I was trying to write to finish, as opposed to write something that I wanted to. I don't know, stick around, and I think that when the further you go in a series, the bigger risk you have of alienating those who love the characters,
Mm,
because characters will perhaps creep to doing something that feels insincere for the character.
yeah.
And not only that, there are actions that you can take that can jeopardize the meaning, so to speak, of the early books. For instance, low hanging fruit here is like Luke throwing the
Yep.
lightsaber over his shoulder, which feels like it insults the original story and the
Hmm.
original love you felt being attached to Luke's journey. And I was trying to be very careful not to create that alienation while also providing novelty and a reason for expanding. So doing something
Yeah.
different while still making it the same heart. So I had
Yeah.
to throw out 400 pages. So that was tough.
I'm not
But it's a
sure
good
if
thing
you
I
watch
started
my.
going to therapy then. I started going to therapy during Lightbringer, and I think that was helpful.
You know what else? I'm sure people started going therapy after Lightbringer too.
Well, I'm glad that I could influence people.
Dude, that was again, I don't know if you've seen my videos, but that is one of my favorite books of all time. And you threw out 400 pages of it? That's crazy. That's so crazy. So crazy. All right, so
Mm,
you have this nice
yeah.
structure in these
Mm,
in Red Rising. So how do you
mm,
go about deciding, which colors are represented? So you have the reds, you have the silvers, you have the
mm.
golds. And was it symbolic, practical, or like a mix of both?
Mix of both. I think a lot of it. I mean, I made no mystery about where my inspiration comes from. It's from Plato's Republic.
Yep.
In it, it's a dialectic where fake philosophers are discussing the ideal form of a city state, and they start talking about different types of government you can have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect for it. And and in it, there's a section where they talk about philosopher kings. And philosopher kings were the original inspiration for the golds. And philosopher kings, I mean, it's a purely meritocratic society. So they're saying meritocracy is the best. And in this perfectly meritocratic society, philosopher kings are educated in all the human arts, all the sciences, and they are raised up from wherever they were born
Hmm.
to be the ruling class, because they're the sum of humanity. And I thought, well, that's great. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
every form of government has always had one problem. It's run by people.
Mm.
And usually governments turn into oligarchies or plutocracies. And so I wanted to show how this philosopher king thing, this beautiful notion, an idea that had, a very kind of structure, because there's also, people of gold, like philosopher kings, to do the job of the philosopher kings. The people of iron should fight the wars. It's this idea of to each his own,
Hmm.
to each man like the best of his abilities. And so I just extrapolated on that, and I wanted to show how, in the end, this great idea could be just ruined by the problems that we have today. The same
Yeah.
problems, the problems that have always been true about human beings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, like it's such a unique system, like within like the like books that I've read in general, and like again, no spoilers, but like just seeing this as the story progresses and seeing the conflict between the people who are in the specific like colors and just seeing how they realize that again, no matter what color you are, there's going to be strife, regardless of where, what you're either you're high color or low color. And I think the way it's done in this story, especially as we get farther along in the stories of some of these characters who've been following since day one. I mean, chef's kiss, man. Chef's kiss.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I think one of my favorite parts about it is that, no matter how there's the hierarchy, right? And you would presume that you would just hate the person up higher than you in the hierarchy, but
Mm-hmm.
no, we often hate laterally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you hate your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as long as you're hating your neighbor, the gammas in Red Rising, or whomever,
Yep.
or the gray line between you and the other colors, and the gray lines
Yeah.
are beneath those colors.
Yeah.
The more you hate those ones, the more you forget the golds at the top, because they are
Yeah.
so alien to you. If we knew how billionaires really lived, if we knew, but we don't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our small envies keep us from societal change often, I think.
Dropping gems, man. Dropping gems. So my community knows I'm a very character driven reader, and you have some of the best characters in your stories. We have Darrow, Mustang, and several. We're just going to stick to those people because those people are in the first book. If you've read the first book,
It's
you know
fair.
these people. Each of them, they grow in unexpected ways across the first trilogy. I can say, heck, even across the second half of the story. Which of their arcs kind of surprised you the most as you were writing?
Good question. I'd say probably. I feel like Darrow's arc was always very understood by me. It made the most sense. And as he's the framework, and his arc kind of follows the action arc, it's easiest to understand. I'd say Severo, because one of the things I like doing in my books is, and I think a lot of times what an author likes to do comes from something when they see something and they're like, I do it different. A lot of
Mm,
times I see character progression as like a continuously like upward trend.
hmm.
Um, and when in real life, I've just seen people do like this. You're like, oh my God, he's got it. Damn it.
Yeah.
He's got it. Oh no, he's got it. Oh
Mm,
no. And like if you've had anyone in your life who's like an alcoholic, you see it in a very intense way, right? And so you'd be like, but I thought we were over this, and you're back
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And so Severo has more of this like elliptical weird arc. And so I think that seeing his growth, then being frustrated at him, then being like, but he's of course like that,
Yeah.
is part of the reason why he surprised me the most.
Yeah, and probably one of the reasons why he over Darrow. I'm sure if we did a poll and it's like, who would you like better, Severo or Darrow?
Mm.
I bet Severo would probably have to be like 56%, and
Oh
Darrow would
yeah.
probably, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like
Oh,
that's where
that
it
was a
is.
shock to me. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was a shock to me. Actually, that actually brings up something I'd forgotten.
There we
Smigo,
go. Let's
good
go.
call. Because several, like when I started doing my first signings, I would ask people who their favorite character was, and I was just waiting for my boy Darrow to get the love. No, no, no. They like the smelly one. They they like the psychopath, and it really started worrying me about my readers.
Wait, it started worrying you?
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think that Severo has, how to say it, there's something very special about, yeah, he might be a monster, but he's my monster,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think also if you look at why Severo is like this, it's because he's been so hurt by the world and so taught that he's going to be hurt by the world, that he then becomes so fearsome the world rejects him first,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So he's rejecting the world by being this way. right?
Yeah.
It's before I can reject him. And I think that's such a thing that I relate to, and I think that a lot of my readers relate to.
Yeah, yeah. I want to give a shout out to Alicia, by the way, who is like your biggest fan on
Oh
here. She
yeah,
she goes, can Severo shower? So
can
I just want to put
he?
that out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
will
I
he?
don't know about the goblin. I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about in the first trilogy before we move on to the second trilogy?
Well, I guess. Who's your favorite character from the first
Severo,
trilogy? It is
Severo,
Severo. It is
Severo.
Severo.
Yeah,
And
hands
what is
down.
it about him to you? I said my hypotheses.
So I, without going into spoilers,
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough.
it's really tough. So I love the fact that as the series progresses along, we see his imperfections and we see
Hmm.
that he recognizes imperfections. And then how do I go about this? And then in the second trilogy, we see him grow up and be a little bit human because he has stuff that he has to hold on to.
Hmm.
Again, no
Hmm.
spoilers, but like you understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And just seeing that from the first trilogy to the second trilogy and just seeing and growing, like literally growing with this wolf pelt stinky person and seeing him
Hmm.
kind of grow into that, like he'll be hands down my number one. I think Daryl maybe number two. I will touch on Cassius, briefly here because I want
Hmm.
people to read the story.
Yeah.
But I will say, excuse my French here, that Pixie Lysander doesn't even rank. Doesn't even
Well,
rank.
no comment. No comment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So the first trilogy, and this again is not spoilers because I'm sure everybody can read the backs of the books here, but the first
Hmm.
trilogy, we have one point of view, right? We have
Hmm.
Darrow's point of view. What was the thought process, after you finish the first trilogy, which ends with, for everybody here, the first trilogy is Red Rising, Golden Sun, Morning Star. I'm sure most of you know that. But what is your perspective, or what was your thought process between switching from that one point of view to going to the multiple point of view and the second half of the story?
Thank you for asking that, because that was the whole point of the second series for me, or the
Hmm.
continuation, was creating a character Darrow who you were told, because you were reading it from his perspective, that he was the hero.
Hmm.
And I know that some people had friction with that. And I think that we see those kind of characters in our world.
No.
And some people didn't have friction for that, right? And would carry his banner to the gates of hell.
Hmm.
And so what I wanted to do was create all the characters whose POVs we were going to get initially, characters that had reasons to think of him as a villain, and three very different reasons from different perspectives in different parts of society.
Hmm.
And then I wanted to analyze him, and then analyze his cause, and analyze the problems that his cause had brought into the world, and then whether or not those problems and those new evils are better or worse than the evil that existed already. Because what any rebel group is threatening is order. Order
Hmm.
often comes at the sacrifice of liberties, but order protects from chaos. So which is worse? And so the chaos that Darrow brought new evils. So would the greater share of the characters and the people be willing, seeing these new evils in this chaos? And the worst thing about that chaos is you don't know the extent of it. It's unknown, it's mysterious. And fear of the unknown makes people make a lot of compromises.
Hmm.
And fear of the unknown is what leads us to order and sacrificing certain things. But at least when you're sacrificing certain things, you know what you're getting,
Yeah.
you know. And so it's basically that dance between that question.
Bars, like literal bars that was just dropped just now. Because
Thanks.
so you know what's funny? I finished Morning Star last February, so like 2024 February, and I took a year off. Like I don't know why. Like I think you destroyed me in Morning Star, so I
No,
took a year off.
that's a good way of reading it, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to Iron Gold this year, February. And again, I get killed for this. I'm like, I actually really, really enjoyed Iron Gold. Like, I enjoyed
Mm-hmm.
the change perspectives. I enjoyed all those stories there. And I think if anybody had any like thoughts around Iron Gold, like the way you put it just now, like I feel like that makes sense, right? Like if
Mhm.
somebody just goes in it and like just reads it from Morning Stars or Iron Gold the next day, I can understand the hesitation.
Yeah,
But
there will
like,
be discomfort, and I
yeah,
think part of it is presenting that discomfort. Now, I think that with Iron Gold, but I think that I knew there was going to be some discomfort or frustration on parts of the
yeah,
reader in doing it. I also learned better pacing in later books and how to juggle the multiple POVs and stuff. But at
yeah,
the same time, I still stick by the thesis, and I think Iron
yeah,
Gold improves the deeper you go into the series.
yeah,
And
yeah,
but
and
because of that is you're gonna be mad at you're not wanting to read about these characters who don't like Darrow.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so I feel as though the feelings around Iron Gold have evolved somewhat, and will continue to evolve through time. But
Yeah,
I am happy that it still is emblematic of the thesis of why I created the second series.
yeah,
So I'm glad that you found that as well.
and if I was to be completely frank here, because people are like, oh yeah, Iron Gold's whatever, but Dark Age and Lightbringer are like amazing. I'm like, what changed? Like the character are the same. Like the writing may have like
Uh,
improved, but like it's still the same. Like change your point of view. Like I don't know. I don't know. I'm not judging anybody out there. Just know
Hey,
that as long as you get the Lightbringer.
some people, yeah, and some people don't like the pacing of Iron Gold. But here's the thing: each of us are going to be different. If we all like the same thing, it'd be a
Hmm.
pretty boring world, right?
Yeah,
You have books like the ones that Brandon Sanderson writes. When Brandon goes into far more detail and takes far longer in certain scenes than I do, it
yeah,
doesn't mean that if someone likes a fast-paced book, Brandon's books suck.
yeah,
It's just that they are what they are, and you can find the things you like in them, you can find things not. So it's not my job to make something that has to be liked, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah,
then you're not having your edge on it, right? But
yeah.
yeah, people can like it or not, and I think that their opinions on it will change over time.
Yeah, no, for sure, 100%. So, again, I don't want to go into spoilers there, but I really enjoy the change of pace with Iron Gold going into Dark Age, going into Dark Age, and then going into Lightbringer, which brings me up to this next question, which a lot of
Mm.
people had comments about. A lot of people have been reaching out to me about this one,
Uh-oh.
and they phrased it in different ways. So I'm gonna go over the many
Mhm.
ways that this question was framed to me. Number one, who hurt you? Number two, what's wrong with you? Number three, why are you like this? Number four, can you pay for my therapy? Because, no spoilers, but you love to cause massive heartbreaks amongst us fans. Do
Mm.
those scenes come naturally to you, or are they the hardest to write?
They come natural. The instinct comes naturally to me. There are some certain scenes that particularly when I was leading up to writing it. When you're writing it, you're just writing it, I think.
Hmm.
But when you're leading up to write it, you can feel the footsteps of doom approaching,
Mm,
and then you have this epiphany somewhere, particularly in the second draft, that you are the author of these footsteps of doom, and you can't, and you're like, oh, but it has to happen, and then you realize it doesn't have to happen, and then
yeah,
you just think about it for a bit, and you kind of feel guilty and you feel bad, but then you're like, these emotions are why it must happen,
yeah.
right? Yeah, and I think that when a character gets killed in a way that feels inconsequential or lacking in theme, even if the theme is capriciousness of war or
Hmm.
randomness, if it's done just to get a reaction, then I don't really feel it in the book, and it just
Hmm.
doesn't feel instinctively right.
Yeah.
Because there's characters that in my first drafts have died, and then I was like, no, no, I wasn't doing that for the right reasons. And
Mm,
then there's times where I spared characters when I went back and I'm like, I can't pull that punch
yeah.
because that is the point of it, right?
Yeah.
But also my books, I think, are fundamentally they flirt with this eroticization of war, this romanticization of war, yet in the end can, I think, be viewed as not anti-war books.
Hmm.
I think that the lust, this battle lust that certain people, even Darrow, have for war, does show the thing that keeps bringing humans back to it and this
Yeah.
addictive quality. Yet
Yeah.
at the same time, if I'm not talking about the horrific cost of it, it feels as though I'm advertising it, and that doesn't
Yeah.
feel right either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I now I have your contact information. I'll send my therapy bills over to you. I'll make sure I'll send them over to you. All right.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm going to open up to a few questions here. I'm going to be completely transparent with you all. Won't be able to get to all the questions. There's certain questions that we won't be able to answer. So now's your time to shoot away. We have a couple questions coming up here. Um, but listen, man, like, welcome to TikTok, by the way. Like,
Thank you.
that was a nice surprise for y'all in the backstory. He posted on his Instagram that he's joining TikTok, and I was like, dude, are you on TikTok? He's like, dude, let's be friends, and like that's the lore behind it. That's
I
the
think you
lore
were my
behind it,
like. Were
everybody.
you my first friend?
Yeah, yeah,
I think you
yeah,
were my first friend. Look at that. Look at that.
yeah,
And you get to be doing the first interview.
yeah, yeah. All right, so all right, I'm going through these questions now. If you ever thought of, here's a good question. Have you ever thought of
Mm.
a several point of view?
Yeah. So I actually started. Um, well, gosh, I don't want to ruin books for people. I
Yep.
actually started one of the books with the Severo POV and
Okay.
wrote pretty deeply in it. But I found that it was it jeopardized his character
Mm-hmm.
overall in my mind, and I think in the readers' minds, by seeing inside him. I think that he has to be somewhat of a cipher,
Mm-hmm.
because if you get into his internal world too much, I think too much is explained, and I
Mm.
think that the Wizard of Oz is sometimes best behind the curtain.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um. Okay, that's a spoiler. Can't say that.
Yeah, good luck.
Um. Okay, there was a good one here. What is, if there's any, what was the difference? Like, can you give us like a difference between like your first draft and your final draft?
Mm.
Some people say, oh, it's like pretty close, and some people say, no, like my first draft, like if I put that out there, I'd be like, I wouldn't be here.
I will say that my publisher has an anxiety attack every time I submit a first draft. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I'm really good at third drafts. I'm
Yeah,
pretty good at second drafts. And
yeah,
that's kind of when my instinct is best. First
yeah.
drafts, oh, they're like the bane of my life. Because it's imperfect and it doesn't feel right. And it's like, oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. And then I'm best when I'm just like Jackson Pollock with a machine gun, just spraying the
Hmm.
wall with a lot of colors and then seeing how much color I have on there and scraping away.
Yeah.
Third drafts are my favorite because then I'm really getting into the character arcs. First drafts are tough for me because it feels a lot like creating the frame of a house. When
Hmm.
I'm more
Yeah,
interested in detailing the bathroom with
yeah,
murals. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Do you listen to music while you write?
It varies. I used
Hmm.
to. I find now that it dictates too much the tone of the scene and also the
Hmm.
pacing of the cadence of the writing. And I find then I sometimes become overly lyrical or
Okay.
overly like iambic pentameter, or
Yeah,
whatever the beat is. And
yeah.
then I found that and then I'm trying to also find the perfect music. I used
Hmm.
to listen to songs on repeat just constantly throughout a scene, but it ebbs and flows, and I think that I just have to find what works best in that moment. I often do it when I'm brainstorming.
Yeah,
Um, for that,
yeah.
yeah.
And then just one more question. With the recent attention to your books, do you feel some pressure to make whatever book you write like perfect?
So there was a little bit of a delay there. Could you say that again?
Yeah, with like the recent attention for your books right now, do you feel some pressure to make like whatever next books you're writing like perfect?
Sure, but I think that pressure would exist whether or not the books had grown in popularity. I
Hmm.
think that the expectation of 50,000 fans versus 5,000 fans versus 500,000 fans
Hmm.
would always be the same for me,
Yeah,
because these characters have been with me so long. It's not like they're talking to me, but I love them,
yeah,
and I want them to be represented well, and
yeah,
I want the story to be represented well, and I'm very pleased with how it's gone thus far,
yeah.
and I'm very, 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 very um, it's very important to me to respect the place these characters have in people's lives,
Hmm.
particularly if they put tattoos on them or put
Yeah,
and there were tattoos 10 years ago, and so I felt that onus on me early on. I'd say it's more difficult now, so for instance, like with TikTok, after this interview I'm going to delete TikTok, and then I'll get on when I have another interview, because there's too many temptations in the dopamine tick,
Yeah, yeah,
and so I'll have to get off. So I have to be very disciplined not to get
yeah.
in too much. And it's like what I think the biggest thing is, and I always say this, um, what's the superpower when you were young that almost everyone wanted, but then realized as an adult would be the worst thing you could do? And that's reading minds, right?
Mm,
Me lurking on the internet, reading about me, about my books, finding out what the
yeah,
readers want cannot be healthy.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
you feel like I'll spill into like some of like the writing, even if you don't want it to, just naturally by
Yeah.
just seeing it. Look at it. Yeah,
Yeah. I'll be going after this jerk on Reddit, be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And
no,
then I'll have like a 10-page thing describing how the engines work,
yeah,
just because he said he doesn't even know. I'm like, I'll prove I know. And then,
yeah,
I don't. But then I'll go like try to figure out, I'll be answering like a question that doesn't even matter. So
yeah,
I find
yeah.
that, I created these books in relative isolation with,
That's
a few
good.
friends and few readers. And so I love to pop on and chat with readers, and I love
Yeah.
signing lines and stuff, but I gotta protect the brain, because here's the thing: if you like books, if you write books, you're sensitive,
Hmm.
and you got to protect that sensitivity.
Yeah. No, like listen, if you disappear for a little bit, everyone, it's because he's writing a story and he's finishing a
Hmm.
story. Let's not take it personal.
Hmm.
Let's not take it personal here. So, all right. So I love to finish this up with like just some fun questions here,
Yeah.
rapid fire questions. And we'll go from there. So in a 1v1 for all of Mars, who
Oh boy.
wins? Severo or Darrow?
Oh, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Well, it's okay. You have to define the terms of the engagement. How long is it declared like they're in a ring, they're in the passage? Is this like they have a week to fight each other and like several can hide and then pop out from the toilet and stab Darrow?
They can use their strengths. They can use the
They can use their
strengths.
oh man. Here's the thing. It'd be Darrow.
It'd be Darrow. You think it's
Unless,
Darrow?
unless, unless, unless he didn't know Severo was coming. Severo could
Mm,
ambush him. Severo could sneak attack him. But
mm,
Severo is a deadly chihuahua with
yeah,
toxic or poisonous fangs,
yeah,
and Darrow's a pit bull. He's
yeah,
built different.
yeah,
It's like a point guard. A point guard could get a lucky shot in and take
yeah,
out a center. It's not
yeah.
happening many of the times.
Right, 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 right.
Shaq sees Kobe coming, you know, but
I'm going
Kobe's
Severo.
fast. He could go in and strike, and I've seen the Mountain and the Viper. I've seen
Yeah.
that. I've read that. I know what
Mm,
happens. Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Hmm.
mm-hmm. I'm going Severo though. I'm going Severo for sure.
Hey,
100%.
hey, it's fair. It's fair. I honestly,
100%.
I honestly think that some of these matchups would be like they take out each other, or it's
Yeah,
like a roll of the dice.
yeah, yeah. Okay. A fictional character that you wish you could have just like a dinner with or a beer with.
Fictional character.
Fictional.
I'd love to have. Oh, not for mine, but anywhere.
Anywhere, anywhere.
Oh, Edmond Dantes, I think,
Okay.
from Count of Monte Cristo.
Okay.
If I spoke French. Um, Another one. This is going to seem really self-serving, but Victra.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good
yeah.
one.
And
That's a
maybe
good
there'll be
one.
dessert. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good Victor's a sneaky, sneaky, sneaky good character. All right, this one is going to be controversial. I am
Hmm.
sorry. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Every now and then.
Every now and then.
It's like a once in a 2-year thing for me when I'm feeling vivacious.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
most people say no. I think Rachel said yes, but most people say no. But okay,
Hey,
I like that. I like that.
I think
Every now and
sometimes
then.
you got to let your freak flag fly.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
always like my potato chips and ketchup. Sometimes I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And then bucket list thing that you haven't done yet.
Go to Mars.
Okay. Okay. All right. Will you be
Hmm.
the first? Will you be the first one on Mars?
Hmm.
Call
I'll
for
be
an
the
Iron
first one to
Rain.
pee there. I'm going to be the first one to pee their spacesuit on Mars, or poop it, in honor of Severo.
I love that. I love that. We
Yeah.
are at 50 minutes here. Pierce Brown, where can we find you? Where can we find more information
Mm.
about you? Plug your stuff.
Um, yeah, Pierce Brown official on Instagram, and also on TikTok now. Also piercebrown.com. And yeah, I'm pretty active. Like when I have something new dropping on Pierce Brown Official and Pierce Brown Official.
Hmm.
And piercebrown.com has a lot of links to the books and to comics and things like that. It also has a link to the Lit Escalates, which is um, my company that I started with Joel Daniel Phillips, who does all the lovely, lovely maps in my books. And we do a lot of fun Red Rising gear, and gosh, it's been a lot of fun. We did these Red
Yeah.
Rising flasks that I
Yeah.
have like my whiskey out of
I might have
now.
to get one.
Yeah, so they're like miniature wolf skull flasks. So you
Yeah.
drink it, and I feel like Severo drinking grog.
Yeah. No, that's super
We're
awesome. So
looking to doing knives, but like it's really hard to mail knives.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's not that's not good. But
No.
everybody, for all the announcements that you're probably looking for, that's where you will find him on those sites there. But one more thing, howlers, give me a wolf in the chat. Give me a wolf in the chat before we leave. I see one wolf. I see another wolf. Just give me the wolf in the chat before we leave. Pierce
Oh,
Brown, thank you
so
again for
fun.
doing this, man. Like this was super awesome. Welcome to TikTok. And I will be sending my bill over to you, by the way.
I appreciate you being my first. Thank you for being gentle.
Yeah,
I'd love to do this again, closer to
yeah,
Red God, and
yeah,
so much fun. Appreciate
yeah.
you,
Let's
Smitty.
do it. Let's do it. As always, everyone.
Sounds good,
As
man.
always, take care. Have a good time, and happy reading.
Thank you, guys.